Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight we have yet another in our one and done series. Tonight's victim is Orion the Hunter. This album came out in 1984, has members from Boston and Hart involved in this. Hey, one record, panel's here, let's go.
Talking bands no one talks about. Grant's Rock Warehouse.
Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight we are tackling yet another album in our one and done series. Tonight's victim is Orion the Hunter from 1984. This record came out on Portrait Records. This is kind of a bit of a super group. You've got, you got Barry Goudreau from Boston. You also have a member of Boston that does some co-writing, does a lot of background vocals, which I don't know what the story was on that. But Brad Delp is doing some background vocals, not on all the tracks, and he's not really part of the band, but he is doing background vocals. We've got future Boston lead vocalist Fran Cosmo on here, which I must say, pretty impressive. Brad and Fran singing on one album. I'm not sure the music industry could handle that. And on drums, we got Michael DeRosa, who was in Heart. So, and then we've got bass player Bruce Smith, who I tried to look up, and I really couldn't find any information on him. I know he likes to do kind of that funky kind of bass playing. We get some of that on here. I'm going to mention that a little bit when we talk about some tracks. So anyway, the band originally was called Orion, but the movie company, the production company, Orion Pictures, got involved and thought, well, that's not going to work, gentlemen. So they changed their name to Orion the Hunter. So that's fine. This record got up to 57 on the charts back in 1984. Not too bad, but think about it. There's a lot of great stuff on here. They had one single off the record, So You Ran. It reached number 7 on rock radio and number 58 on the Hot 100, Billboard 100. So not too bad for a band. No one knew who they were. But like I said, this is the only album that they put out. This is a true one and done. So we're just going to go around. We're going to treat this kind of like a Contrarians Dark Horse episode where we go around, tell everyone what we like, what we don't like, and our ranking out of 10. And we will compile it at the end, and we will determine whether this is a record worth picking up. Because all we're here to do here in the warehouse is to turn you on to stuff. And we love venturing out and listening to music that maybe not everybody knows about. So that's what we're about. Yeah. So tonight's victim is Orion the Hunter. Now I've got the CD. This is CD that came out on Rock Candy. Highly recommend it. There's no bonus tracks on here, but I don't know. Did this came out on CD back in the day? I'm pretty sure it did. Came out like on Portrait, I think. I've never seen an original version. I'm sure it's expensive, but the Rock Candy CD is fine. So if you're looking for physical media, there you go. All right. So I want to welcome these gentlemen here. We've got DC Byron and we've got John the Music Nut. I don't know who wants to go first. I don't care. I guess we'll just go. I guess I'll go as I see it. Daryl, BM, John, and then myself, and we'll just go around. And Daryl Collins, what's your thoughts on Orion the Hunter?
Well, thanks for having me again, Grant.
Yeah, I tolerate you.
Very few do.
Yeah.
Overall, the album doesn't blow me away. It is very competent 80s hard rock. The take an adage from Grand Funk Railroad. There's good singing, there's good playing, but nothing song-wise that makes me really sit up and take notice. That is a cool album cover, though. The art, the graphics, like it quite a little bit. Something that may be held against this group is it sounds a lot like Boston, but if I wanted to listen to something like this, I would just put on the first couple Boston albums. But I think they could have been bigger. I mean, I think maybe the Boston sound by 84 folks had kind of moved on a little bit. Hardcore Boston fans, if you're looking at 1984, that last Boston album was in 78. There were a lot of people kind of pissed off at Boston as much as they enjoyed that band, that was an era where most groups were releasing at least an album a year. And with Boston, it was like waiting forever for a new release. So, I mean, people were jonesing for some Boston styled rock by 84 when this album came out, but there might have been a lot also kind of like a comparison to Boston in that this wasn't quite there, although they were emulating that kind of vocal treatment and a bit of the song construction. They weren't Boston. So that may have been, you know, something that was kind of held against them. Overall, as I listen to this album, it's funny because when you go from track 1 to 9, the further into the album you go, the less Boston references you hear in the songs. Like the last 3 or 4 tunes, seems like they're really finding their own way. And not that they're completely ditching their influences, but more of what this group is and what it could have become are coming to the fore. The kind of breaking away from the Boston template. But I don't want to talk about too much about the song. Why don't we just get everybody's general thoughts about it, and then maybe we can come back and highlight a few tunes or whatever, however you want to do it, Grant.
Yeah, whatever. Just I don't know. So, but Daryl, what would you rate? What would you rate this out of 10?
God, it's competent, but it's not like there's a ton of other albums at about this time that are on this level. And usually with these one and done programs, if I like the songs enough when I'm listening to it on for service, I'll go out and buy the physical product. This doesn't rise to the level of Riggs, where I went out and said, yeah, I want to have a physical copy of this album. This album's got like 3 or 4, I would say 3 standouts, and the rest of it is good. But it's just, there is tons of other songs similarly good in this era, so it doesn't rise above. If you want me to give a number to it,
I need a number.
let's
need
go
a number.
6.75.
Okay.
It's very competently played and sung. It's just nothing that's knocking me on my can. 3
Well,
of the songs I like very well.
6.75's a decent.
Well, 5's like the midpoint.
Mhm.
6.5 is like the vocals are very, very good here. And the
Okay.
playing is very, very good. But again, it's the songs, it's the songs, it's the songs. And they're just not of a tremendous or a high level. The one that almost ends the album, Joanne, it's a ballad. I think if they would have followed that up and released that as a single, that could have had legs. I mean, it probably would have brought in more female contingent to the band or whatever. But like I say, it's got 9 tracks. 3 of them I think are better than the rest, but in general, it's not knocking my socks off.
Yeah, I think Joanne's a good power ballad.
Yeah, I think of
Kind of
that
reminds me
era.
of Survivor.
Yeah, and in fact, there are like little lover boy touches as we get to the end here. In fact, that one song, that Too Much Love, track 7, it sounds like there's a marimba or strums on it. And I think that's a nice little touch. That certainly is not Boston. You got the steel
I wrote
drums
on my
and the
notes.
marimba.
I wrote on my notes. It sounds, for some reason, Fran sounds a lot like Mickey Thomas here. To me, it sounds like a Lost Starship track,
Yeah, it
and I
could
don't
be.
mean that in a good way.
Oh, really? It's one that's one of my
No.
3 that I think stands
Oh,
above the
man.
rest.
I like other songs on here.
Well, what the hell do I know?
Get off my lawn!
Get out of here, DC.
Get out of here, DC. No, I think you're fine. 6.75. That's decent. All right. I get it. I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
We're keeping it loose here in the warehouse like
right.
we always do, for God's sakes. All right. Thank you, DC, for that terrible review. All right, Byron.
Yeah, this is kind of funny because you know, somebody will say, "Oh, I love this," and I'm thinking, "Man, I love this song. Well, I hate that song." Or they're like, "Oh, it sounds like this."
We can
No, it
hardly
doesn't
wait.
sound like that. Or
We can hardly wait to hear what you have to
But
say.
other people, yeah, whatever. I'm going to go over my notes, and some of these things have already been mentioned, and I may totally disagree with the previous takes, but I might agree in some of them as well. I think this album sounds very 80s. The drums, they don't sound great. I mean, it sounds like it's all electronic drums for the most
I don't
Am I wrong about
I
that?
don't know if there are effects on them.
Or it's either
I
that or they're extremely processed or they're electronic.
You think
It's-
that's what it is?
I'm not a drummer, so I don't know. They just sound electronic.
I'm doing. I don't. I don't think. You think DeRoser would play electronic drums?
It's
They just-
84.
Well, I'm looking. It just
um,
says drums.
And
I mean,
percussion.
when you listen to it, they don't sound like analog drums, I guess. Is that the word I want?
Right.
But they don't sound gated, which would definitely date it. They're not all. They might be processed, but it's not vulgar, if you know what I mean. Like, boom, boom. God, ugh, I hate that. It
All
just
right.
says drums, so I don't know. Someone in the all right, if anybody watching this show hasn't tuned out yet,
Listen to the album,
comments,
tell us what you
and
think.
if you know anything about this record, what is going on here with the drums? Please let us know. We do want to know. All right, go ahead, Byron.
Okay, I got here that I thought the guitar work was decent, but it was nothing memorable. So it reminds me of another album that came around the same time. As far as how it sounds, it reminds me of Phenomena, which is a good thing. But at the same time, it reminds me of Starship, which is not a good thing.
It
So-
does. He sounds
Part of
like
it-
Mickey Thomas.
Yeah, and so he does sound like Mickey Thomas at times. I wrote that down as well. I would say the songs are very average, like DC was saying. Nothing really jumps out at me. So back here we have the Very Good Row album, which at times you would swear it's Boston because Brad Delp singing, Barry's got the Boston rock man sound going. I think Sib Haitian plays on it. I don't know if anybody else from Boston was on there. And Tom Scholes was pissed when that album came out.
God,
But hey,
we have to cover it.
It was his own fault, man, because he was dragging his feet so long with Boston.
We have to cover it.
So I think
Exactly,
this-
Byron.
This
Exactly.
album, yeah, I think this is why Brad doesn't sing lead vocals on this album, was because the previous album was just too close to Boston. Or this
Okay.
this still has a Boston sound here and there, but man, they could not have had Brad sing again on this because I think Tom would have just lost his mind. But yeah, I guess I was mentioning you guys before. Someone had commented how they said Tom was pissed about the Very Good Row album, and Tom said it was almost Boston, and then the person also commented how the fourth Boston album was almost Orion the Hunter because Ray Cosmo sang on it. I guess I've listened to that album maybe once in my life, twice tops. All right. Well, anyway, as far as the songs on here, there's a couple that stood out to me that I thought were pretty decent. I thought Dreamin' was pretty good. It was pretty heavy. Also, there was a bridge section where it gets real quiet, and that sounds the most like Boston there, where he's just kind of strumming these little chords through a rock man, a fairly clean sounding rock man, almost that Def Leppard sound you get to. And I thought that the last song rocked pretty good. I Call It Love. It was a pretty good closer. Then there was three other songs which I thought weren't too bad. The first track, All Those Years. So You Ran, the singles, all right. And then I didn't think Fast Talk was too bad, but for some reason, that and the song before it, Stand Up, there's a lot of these laser sounding effects, which I couldn't quite get. Oh, okay. And I'm
Love
also gonna say I thought that Too Much Love sucked. That's the one with the Jamaican steel drum keyboard or
See?
whatever the hell that was.
Now, to me,
It was
that just sounded
terrible.
so fresh.
I'm with you, Byron. I wasn't a big fan.
That to me,
Right.
that sounded so fresh after this emulating so much of the Boston sound that they went into a completely different direction. It worked for
It
me, and
sticks-
that's funny,
It sticks
Byron,
out
that you
like a sore
mentioned that.
thumb, though, on that album, man. It does.
That's funny you
It really
mentioned that
does.
sound because I said for that song "Stand Up," it even has the sound of some cosmic arrow being shot.
Ah. Fast Talk had some of that as well. Like,
Yeah.
like you're watching Star Wars or something.
Video game.
Hey, it was the era.
Star Galactica
Yeah.
or something, you know. So yeah, so I'm gonna wrap it up by saying I'm gonna give this a 5. I can take it or leave it.
All right. Wow.
When you
you
frame
never
it like
know
that, I
what you're
almost
gonna
want to
get.
join you as a 5.
You never know what
I was
you're
gonna
get on the
when you
one and
first
done series.
suggested this, when you first suggested it, I listened to it once right away and I thought 3. But I gave it a couple more listens and I'm now up to a 5. So
Well, I think it's one of those records you need to really sit down and listen to more than once. You can't get it
I
on
gave it
one.
like 4 listens.
I know, but every time all right, I'm not up yet. I'll get to it. So we've got a 6.75 and a 5. Things aren't looking too good, ladies and gentlemen. Not looking good. All right, John the Music Nut. Now I'll be interested to see where he. All right, John, what's your thoughts and what's your ranking?
All right. If you want to go to the bathroom, you can go now because I'm going to say a lot of the same things.
Okay.
Okay. Boston without the craftsmanship. I love Fran's vocals. Yeah, he does sound like a Mickey Thomas, but Mickey Thomas can sing like a bird.
Yes.
I like Barry Goodrow's guitar work here.
Yes.
I don't like the songs much.
Oh.
All those years is good. You got that good funk bass going on, but the keyboards are too loud in the chorus. So You Ran, weak verses, excellent chorus.
What?
Work on those
Holy
verses.
crap.
Work on those verses.
I agree,
Okay.
John.
Keep in that killer
All right.
chorus and that killer solo. And then
I'm
after
gonna
the solo, don't go into a third verse because then the song sounds long. You could have
love
did
it.
so much with this and a lot of songs on here, but the songs just aren't really here.
Yeah. The songcraft.
Yeah. Now Dreamin' is probably my favorite song in the album because it's a nice slice of AOR. A lot of songs on here, the keyboards, the synths especially, too dominant over the guitar. Here, they complement each other well. That breakdown into that solo is great. That's Boston-like. You can't say that too many more times on this album. But Dreamin', I think, is very good. And I call it Love a lot because it comes after a lot of mediocre songs that don't really stand out. At least it ends with a little bit of grit and a little bit of fire. But in the meantime, yep, I hate those studio tricks on Stand Up, which should be called Fight because they say fight all the time in it, and Fast Talk. Since they're devouring you on Fast Talk. The pre-chorus is okay. The solos are good. You know, I like Barry Goodrow's sound. I always liked his style as a guitar player. He's very distinct. Dark and Stormy, power ballad, not into it. Too Much in Love. I'm with you, Byron. I don't like this at all. This is my least favorite song. Now, Joanne, here comes another maudlin ballad that plays like one of those nondescript Chicago songs from the 80s. Their best ballads were timeless, but then they had these other hits because they were just called Chicago, and now you don't remember how the song goes. That is Joanne. That was what that is. I don't like the recording. It's just too haphazard. More often than not, the synths are dominating guitars. They rarely get a good balance. I listened to this several times. Yeah, maybe 3 or 4 songs I like. Rest of it, not so much. Kind of going in the middle, closer to Byron here, 5.5 out of 10. But God, I hear So You Ran. I'm like, God, you could have did something with this, but that verse sucks. I mean, it could have sounded like it could have been any other band. It just doesn't go anywhere. And then you go back into that weak verse after this kick-ass solo, and you're like, it just ruins it. It says the song is 4:58. When they go back into that, it feels like it's 7 minutes. Yeah. Not too good. There's a few songs on here I like. I'm glad I didn't buy it.
And
So
here I thought I was harsh with my 6.75. I thought, well, don't be a dick
I
and
love-
just give it like a 4 or something.
well, you know,
So I says,
you-
well, 6.75, but man, it's not getting a lot of love, is it, folks?
and you know the thing was, I was thinking DC. I was thinking, well, I give this a 6, and then I'm thinking about some of the other albums I would give a 6, and I'm thinking, yeah, on those albums that I would give a 6, there's usually 1 or 2 songs in there I really love. I don't really
Right.
love anything on here. Dream is like the closest.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
I agree. There's not one song here I would put on my master iPod that houses my favorite songs of all time. There's not one that would crack that iPod, but it's
And how
all
many-
competently played and sung.
right.
Like I said, you made a good point about Joanne, and that maybe that's why I felt so much like if they would have released that as a single, it would have been
Right.
successful, because maybe in the back of my reptilian brain, I remembered Chicago's singles of that era, and that, oh, this would fit in right in that era for success with ballads. So
Yeah. But I think it's a ballad. It's more like the unremarkable "You're Not Alone" and less like the classic "Hard Habit to Break." You know what I mean?
mhm.
Because that's the thing. I mean, and a lot of that was the sound, David Foster's production and
Oh, yeah.
songwriting too. I mean, yeah, they were great together, but some of those songs just didn't stand out, and here very little does.
Mhm.
It's better than Flint, though. I'll say that.
DC, you've got your gunshot to give a negative review now. You gave something a negative review, and then what was it? And you rethought it.
You
It was
always
Flint.
remember that, don't you, Byron?
Well,
I think it was. I think it was Flint.
It was
I
Flint.
I was
You
a
you
little
changed
harsh,
your
and then I
you were-
changed it.
thought you were harsh.
I was harsh.
You
Yeah,
felt
you
And
bad.
went
I've
from a 5 to a
refunked my
7.
presentation here on the Warehaus, trying to come off as not such a harsh character. But yeah, if I 6.75, I thought I don't want to be harsh, but really,
He's gonna lower it
I'm in
now.
with
Well,
you
what's
guys.
your
It
real
would
score
be
then?
I would put it right in the middle, 5, just based on songs, on abilities and
Yeah.
vocals.
5.
Very competent. Song wise, there ain't nothing here that's blowing the roof
All right,
off.
I'm giving it you're giving it a 5 then. All
I
right.
gotta give it a 5. I'm
Okay. You
coming
gotta
clean.
here on we're very transparent here in the Warehouse. You have to be in a warehouse setting. And you gentlemen have to give me your real scores. We're here for the people. We're doing a service, actually. We're here to help you with your musical choices.
Yes.
So we've got a 5, we've got a 5, and a 5.5.
Because I'm 5'5".
Okay. All right. Now, when I got this album, I wasn't that crazy about it. The more I listen to it, the more I like it. Because I was laying down earlier, just listening to it, and it just one song after another. I'm just going, yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, it's 1984. Yeah, maybe it could be. It's a little slick. This is my thoughts on it. All those years, good opening track. The only issue I have with this song is that the bass is really hot in the mix, and that damn bass player, Bruce Smith, loves to make a little pop noise right in between the silence. Now he kept doing that for this song, and So You Ran, and I keep hearing it, and it ruins it for me. But I can get over that. I don't know why the guy is so excited to hit that little poppy sound on his bass. He's no Larry Graham. He's not. He's pretty good
He's
though.
Bruce Smith.
He's Bruce Smith, but
Yeah.
his bass playing's pretty good. I will give you that.
He may have just transitioned over from playing in a funk disco band and just couldn't get that out of his system.
I'm going to
'Cause I
say
know
that
his
that's
history.
probably what happened. Okay, I can get over that. DeRosa's a killer drummer. I don't know if I don't see any indication of his drum machines. It could be processed. We love to process things during this era. I think that opening track's very catchy and memorable. It's more along the lines than Journey than Boston to me. You guys keep mentioning Boston. The only time I really hear Boston is only on the songs Brad Delp sings on, and there's only like 3 tracks. And he's on here. Now, until I read in the notes that Brad was singing on this song, I didn't even think twice about it. Now I cannot not hear Brad. It's just like,
Yeah.
God, there's Brad.
That first song, did it remind you a little bit of Head Knocker from Foreigner?
Yeah,
Yeah, a little bit.
that's okay.
Yeah.
The other thing that I like is Barry is a great player. Knows what to play for the track, doesn't overplay. I have no issues with the guitar playing on here. And when I put on my notes for this track that love Barry's guitar work. Now I know Byron, not a big fan of Barry.
He's all right.
Okay, he's all right. I think he's pretty damn good. All right. So You Ran. Killer background vocals, killer backgrounds. And that's not Brad on this one. This was the single. I think this is a great track. It's catchy all the way through, except that little funk bass slap drives me nuts, but it's a great song. I have no problem with this song. I love it. I love this song. I keep listening, playing it over and over again.
I like this song better than if I watch it with the video that accompanies it. Because it's kind of sad.
Okay, well, they didn't have a lot of money.
No.
Dreamin', I wrote that Fran Cosmo has some pipes. Holy mackerel. Guy can sing, he's great. Dark and Stormy, I thought was a nice power ballad. Did anybody mention Dark and Stormy? I think that along with Joanne, I think both of those could have been hits.
Yeah, I've put Dark and Stormy was a nice ballad, but again, it was a ballad like hundreds of others of this era.
Well, yeah, but
I mean, yeah,
throw it in there, throw it out there.
Done
It could have been.
something. Yeah.
I mean, I put a nice power ballad, lighters not included. So you got to have a lighter when you're listening to it. I didn't have a lighter. Stand Up had a little bit of a prog element in the keyboard department, and then it dissipates and it just turns into a mid-tempo rocker. The only thing, okay, there's one thing. You might think that the drums sound a little bit electronic here, but the thing is that you really have to pay attention to really pick it up. There's no gated drums. We're getting in that era where you got drums that sound like it sounds like the Creatures of the Night where we're playing drums inside a cave. We don't have that here. So I think that helps it date it, not as much as some records. Yeah, it's got keyboards from the era, but I think everything's tastefully done. Fast Track, I love the keyboard sound on it. It's very Survivor, almost sounds like it could be like on one of those later Utopia albums, like POV maybe. Too Much in Love, I'm not into that. Sounds like Starship. Sounds like Mickey Thomas. I didn't care for it very much. And Joanne, good power ballad. More like Survivor, less than Boston. I know Brad's singing on it, but still. I don't think they want to come off sounding like Boston because they, Tom Scholz, beat him down so badly on his solo record that they didn't want to come off that way. And I don't really think they do so much. I think they sound like they should. I think they sound like Orion the Hunter. I Call It Love. They end the album with a rocker. I'm fine with that. I like the record. I don't think I'd give it something more than a 5. I think the more I play it, the more I like it. It's just one of those albums that it's a slow burn. You've just got to listen to it. I think the production's fine. I don't have any problem with that. I do think that So You Ran is a killer song. I would give this, I think I could give it a solid 7. I mean, it's not too bad. If you think of a lot of the stuff that came out during this period, this is a lot better than some of it, And I don't know if this was marketed. I don't know if they, pushed this record. I don't know anything about that. It came out, it kind of went away. And that's why we cover these records. Hopefully we can find a diamond in the rough. I'm going to say that this might not be one, even though I do enjoy the record, but we were going to compile all this. We got 2 5s, a 5.5, and a 7. Well, let's calculate and see what we have. Oh, it doesn't look good, kids. We come up with a 5.6. Hey, that's fine. Your mileage may vary. Anybody in the comments, we do want to hear what you think of this record. I know every time I've played Orion the Hunter on the listening parties, people always go, "Oh yeah, Orion the Hunter, yeah." So people out there seem to like it.
Hmm.
But it's always gotten a good response when I do like the 80s things are people dig it. So I don't know. We could be totally wrong on this panel, but I doubt it. I think
I remember seeing this album back in the day,
yeah.
but I never listened to it, nor had I heard any tracks from it. So
And
I don't
like
have
the
any
album
history
cover.
with it. Oh, the
Yeah,
album cover is very, very well done.
I mean,
Illustration
I don't even
wise.
remember it coming out back in the day when I was a
I
kid.
remember seeing it and knowing of it. I just never picked it up, nor did anybody I know have it, nor did I remember hearing any tracks from it. So
I got a story about it.
Go ahead.
About 85. I had a friend back in those days, and he liked to buy a lot of albums, and then he'd always have financial issues. So then he'd sell all those albums, you know. We've all known those guys, right?
We do. Yeah.
One time he said, "Yeah, I got to go sell my album. I need money." And I'm like, well, wait a second. Let me come over and buy them from you instead of taking them to the store. So I bought all these records from him. And one of them was this Orion the Hunter. So I remember getting that. I checked it out, I think once, maybe twice. I didn't think it was all that great. At that point, that's when I first started selling records. I'd go to record shows and I'd sell records. So this was me. I was finally building up
Inventory.
inventory, and I started selling stuff. So that was one of the ones I sold initially. So I did hear it way back when. It wasn't something I wanted to keep though.
Well, there you go. Well, you could have, for this assignment, you could have went back and listened to it again. You could have changed your mind. You never know.
I think I listened to it more in the last week than I did when I first owned it back in
Well,
the day.
there you go. Might not be for you, but I think it's fine. I think it's okay. It's worth a 7 to me. It's not offensive. I think there's a lot of great stuff on it, But that's just me, obviously. That's just me.
it's just interesting how we all hear things different. Again, I'm the lone wolf thinking that Too Much Love is a stellar track on this. And for everybody else, it's like nails on a chalkboard.
That's going to make your top songs of 80, what's this, 84?
No, it won't reach those heights. But for this album, it's one of my favorites. I'll fess up to that.
So there you go. Gentlemen, anybody have anything else to add? I think we've covered it. I think you've all been very clear on your rankings and your thoughts.
This album's gotten more of a thorough go through with the show tonight than I think it ever has in its history. No one's talking Orion the Hunter like
well,
this.
you never know.
Like
by doing this, I'm hoping we hit something that we can all go, well, like Riggs. Man,
I did
love
purchase
that Riggs
album.
album.
The one coming up is one that I dig quite a little bit and have had it in my collection since it was released. So
well,
there are some gems out there for one and dones for sure.
Yep. So there you go. 5.6. So as the panel cannot probably recommend it. Hey, if you know this record, please leave a comment down below. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Are we full of crap? Is Byron full of crap? Probably, but definitely is. So, all right, boys, I think we can end this, dog. This might be a quick episode. I do want to thank the panel, Daryl, Byron, and John the Music Nut for coming on. Orion the Hunter. There you go. All right, please like, subscribe. We do want to hear from you. Leave a comment. All right, gentlemen, we'll see you. And the next episode we will be doing in this series will be Boys. So,
the boys.
Get ready. Start listening. We want you all to comment. All right, gentlemen, we'll see you. Have a good night. And, well, tonight's a Thursday. We're getting ready for the weekend. So we'll see you on the next one. All right, boys. Thanks.